You never really forget the moment someone looks at you like you don't belong, no matter how many years you've put in, no matter how hard you've worked, no matter how sharp your uniform is. There are moments when the world tries to strip it all away. That morning started like any other. I was feeling good, well rested, prepped, ready to fly. I've been a pilot for over 15 years, and I still get a certain feeling in my chest when I walk through an airport in uniform. It's a quiet pride, a symbol of the journey I've taken to get here. Being a pilot was my dream since I was a little boy. I used to sit by the window during storms, watching the clouds roll by, imagining what it'd be like to fly through them. I studied hard. I trained harder. I've flown through turbulence, technical malfunctions, and some of the toughest skies imaginable. And I've done it all with steady hands and a calm mind. But nothing prepared me for what happened that day. I arrived at the airport early, like always. I believe in being early. There's peace in being prepared. My flight was scheduled to depart in a couple of hours, and I wanted to touch base with my crew, go over the flight plan, and just settle in. As I approached the gate for Flight 482, I noticed something off. People were staring, not with admiration or curiosity, but with confusion, even suspicion. I brushed it off at first. You get used to some of that as a black man in a mostly white profession. But then a young gate agent stepped directly in front of me. "Excuse me, sir," she said. "This area is for authorized crew members only." I paused for a second, thought maybe she didn't see the uniform. Maybe she thought I was a family member walking someone to the gate. "I understand," I said calmly. "I'm the captain for this flight." She looked at me, really looked, and I saw it then. Doubt, disbelief, that flicker in her eyes that said, "No way." "Can I see your ID?" she asked. "Of course," I said, reaching into my breast pocket and handing it over. It had my name, Captain Daniel Harris, my credentials, and my photo. But she didn't even glance at it. Instead, she stepped back, reached for her radio, and muttered something I couldn't hear. A few seconds later, another staff member walked over, followed by a supervisor. They formed a little circle around me, like I was a problem to be solved. I stood there, in full pilot uniform, and watched as they debated whether I was who I said I was. Passengers were walking by. Some slowed down, some stared. One woman whispered something to her child, who looked up at me with wide eyes. I felt exposed, like I was being unmade in front of strangers. Finally, the supervisor stepped forward, apologizing as if that would wipe the shame off the moment. "We're so sorry, Captain Harris." There was some confusion, but it wasn't confusion. Let's call it what it really was: assumption, bias, a quiet kind of racism that shows up with a smile and a shrug. I nodded politely, said I understood, but I didn't. Not really. "How do you understand being doubted for simply existing in your own role? How do you accept being questioned for the very thing you've dedicated your life to?" I boarded the plane, ran through the pre-flight checks, greeted my co-pilot and crew, most of whom had no idea what just happened. And when I finally sat in the captain's seat, hands on the controls, I looked out at the runway, stretching ahead, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: heaviness, I flew that plane as I always do, with care, with professionalism, with purpose. But the sky felt different that day, colder, more distant. After the flight, I told my wife what happened. She cried, not because she was surprised, but because she wasn't. She knew. She's seen it happen to me and to others too many times. Then, something unexpected happened. One of the passengers had recorded part of the incident. They posted it online with a caption that read, "This is what everyday racism looks like. The man they tried to stop from boarding is the one flying the plane." It went viral. People started talking, commenting, sharing their own stories. Other black pilots and flight attendants came forward with similar experiences, being mistaken for baggage handlers, security, janitors, anything but who they truly were. The silence was breaking. Within a week, the airline released a public apology. They acknowledged the incident, called it unacceptable, and promised to review their training procedures. They even reached out to me directly, said they were deeply sorry. I appreciated the gesture, but apologies aren't magic. They don't erase what happened. They don't remove the sting of standing in your rightful place and being treated like an outsider. What they can do, though, is start something, a conversation, a change, a moment of reflection for someone who might have never considered what it feels like to be doubted at the gate of your own success. Imagine spending years climbing the mountain, sleepless nights, missed birthdays, long hours, sacrifices most people will never see. And just as you reach the top, someone tells you they don't believe you belong there, not because of your skills, not because of your record, but simply because you don't look the part in their eyes. It's not just frustrating, it's painful, it's exhausting, because no matter how far you've come, the world sometimes tries to drag you back to where it thinks you should be. And that's why I'm sharing this story. Not to point fingers, not to shame, but to shine a light. Because I know I'm not the only one who's had to stand still while someone questioned their worth. I know what it feels like to have your dignity tested in public, to hold your breath and your tongue at the same time, to smile through disrespect just to keep your job, your peace, your place. And if you've ever been in that position, whether in a boardroom, a classroom, a studio, or at an airport gate, I want you to hear me clearly. You belong. You are enough. Just as you are. You don't have to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You don't have to prove what's already true. You don't have to fight so hard just to exist in a space you've earned. Your presence matters. Your voice matters. Your work, your dreams, your purpose, they matter. And none of that can be erased by someone else's ignorance, not their assumptions, not their stares, not their silence. You are not what they think you are. You are what you know you are. A leader, a professional, a dreamer, a doer, a person worthy of respect. So walk through those gates with your head high. Even when they doubt you, keep walking. Even when they whisper, keep rising. Even when they question your right to be there, stay rooted in the truth. You have every right to be there. Not later, not someday. Now, not just allowed, but destined. And no one can take that away from you. Not now. Not ever.